Good morning. Come on in. Come on in. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. Come on in. Another episode of Chronicles Speaks. Come on in. We have some things to talk about. I'm sorry. We have some things to talk about, some things to get into. Come on in. Come on in. Hit the like button. Come on in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Trump Liberation Day. That's tomorrow, April 2nd. Let's talk about it. What does it mean to you? What does Liberation Day mean to you? Because I'm pretty sure it has a different meaning for many people. We'll talk about what it means for Trump. What does Liberation Day mean to you? Come on in, hit the like button. April 1st, April Fool's Day. Come on in. Let's talk about it. Hit the like button as you come on in. Please double tap the screen. Let's get into some things. You know how we do on our Car Chronicles. We get into some things. We get into it in a way that no one else gets into it. We'll just say that. We will say that. We different over here. We are different over here, but that's a good thing because we talk about it. We talk about all sides. I want to know, what does Liberation Day mean for you? Today is April 1st. Tomorrow being April 2nd. Liberation Day, according to President Trump, his meaning behind Liberation Day. It's a day where the U.S. start getting what he believes is due to the U.S. when it comes to tariff fees. February 2nd is the day where he implements the 25% on all auto imports. Listen, he was like, listen, I done already told the big three. I done told everybody, listen, I gave them 30 days. I gave everybody I gave the big three. When I say the big three, the big makers, like you got your Ford, um, GMC, Stellantis. So there's Stellantis falls underneath like the Dodge Chrysler Jeep brand. Listen, he said, listen, I gave him 30 days. So that time is up. Listen, everybody, 25% on all auto imports effective Wednesday, April 2nd. That's Liberation Day. We are the day before Liberation Day. Let me know your thoughts on this. Many people have opinions about what's about to take place as far as it impacting, as far as how it's going to impact our country, the American people, and not even just the American people, the people in other countries as well. But I'm an American citizen, so I talk a lot about the U.S. and the impact that all of this is projected to have on our country. But Liberation Day is not only going to impact the USA, but it's going to impact much of the world through tariffs. Please, good morning. Like the video, double tap the screen. Like the video helps with the algorithm. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments. I will get to them when I can. I'm driving, so once I get to my destination or at a stopping point, I can read some of the comments. But in the meantime, let me know your thoughts. What does Liberation Day mean to you? Are you here for it? Are you here for the extra 25% tariffs? that is going to be placed on multiple countries. Anyone who's importing goods centered around the automobile industry. Here's the kicker with that. So yesterday, President Trump, excuse me, he was at the Oval Office with Kid Rock. Some of you, did you all see Kid Rock? Bob. Trump says he calls Kid Rock Bob. I don't know if his government name Robert. I don't know. He said he called a man Bob, but Kid Rock was at the White House. They were in the Oval Office together. Trump signed an executive order against scalpers. Kid Rock said, "Listen, listen, Trump. We got to issue these scalpers. They doing a lot. They are doing a lot. Good morning, Dr. J. They are doing a lot, and they're impacting ticket sales by." So what Kid Rock was saying is that these scalpers, these bots, are coming in buying up all the tickets for concert goers. So say, for example, Kid Rock has a show, a bot will come in and buy up like all the tickets and then turn around and sell the tickets at a higher fee. So what I got from that is that he's still making his money, on the back end from the ticket sales. I imagine he's getting, maybe, I don't know if he's getting a percentage off of whatever the sales are. He's making his money, but he's not here for many of his fans not being able to come to his shows because they say they can't afford to come to his shows. Why? Because the bots then came in and bought up all the tickets and added, up the fee. So a lot of people can't go to concerts anymore. So Trump like, oh, that's a problem. So within 2 weeks of Trump learning that that was a problem, he signed an executive order. Apparently this has been an issue for 20 plus years. And Trump came in and was like, all right, bet, let's put it into that. So there's that. So that was yesterday. Trump also, he talked about the tariffs, Liberation Day, April 2nd, and implementing the 25% on the auto imports, all auto imports. So these countries knew that it was coming. It's not no situation where it's a surprise. Like, this has been a thing. he he's been talking about this for over a month. So we all knew this was coming. Uh, so countries like Canada and Mexico, he was like, what he did was, remember with the big three, he was like, okay, I'm gonna give you 30 days extension to get your affairs in order. I'm gonna give you 30 days to get your affairs in order. So he said Canada and Mexico. So remember, they got 30 days. So they like, all right, we got to push these vehicles out. Yeah, please hit the like button. It's 22 people in here. Ain't nobody hit the like button. Please double tap your screen. Hit the like button for me. So listen, he was like, okay, so cars are lined up for miles. He said vehicles are lined up for miles coming out of Canada and Mexico. Because what they did was, since remember it was 30 days added onto the extension before the 25% tariff was hit. So they've been doing their thing with these cars, putting their parts on, whatever parts that they, whatever they're part of the process. Because remember, it's an assembly. So they like, all right, then we going to put our aluminum, our steel, whatever on this car, and then we going to cross it over the border. So they said for miles coming out of Canada and Mexico, there are cars lined up. Because remember, they had 30 days. So anything that's sent over here prior to April 2nd, it's not going to get hit with the 25% tariff. So this has been their way of getting around, paying that tariff on these vehicles. They're quickly doing their thing and then pushing it across the line. So therefore, I guess, Canada, like, okay, all right, Ford, I done my part. I put the metal, did whatever. I pushed it over the line. Now Ford then is tasked with going over there and getting picking up the vehicle from wherever to take it to the dealership or wherever it needs to go. Y'all see what I'm saying? So you hurry up and do your part, and then you push it across the line. So that is what's been happening for the past 30 days. And Trump was like, listen, I didn't mean for them to do all that, but listen, it is what it is. They got until April 2nd, so however they finna make it do what it do. But this is how they're making it do what it do. They were just doing their part quickly and then pushing it across the line. So let's just say tomorrow, you're gonna still probably see all these vehicles coming out of Mexico and Canada that are lined up coming out of those countries with the people on the American side, the dealerships, the owners, whatever, the truckers going to pick the cars up. None of those vehicles was assessed the 25% tariff fee. Y'all see what I'm saying? So this is how they got over. It was hilarious. Trump was like, this not what I talked about with them doing all that, but it is what it is, because I guess they were like, well, bruh, you didn't say we couldn't do that. So long as we got these vehicles across the line before April 2nd, how we do it is none of your business. So that is what they've been doing to basically get these vehicles like put together and crossed over the country, the line, so therefore they can make its way to wherever without being assessed the 25% tariff. So that's the hustle. That is the hustle. I call it the hustle. And I'm sure Trump didn't even think that would through, like as though they would do that. But I mean, it is what it is. I ain't mad at them. If that's how they felt like, listen, they needed to do, what they needed to do to get around this tariff, then it is what it is. That to me, I look at it as that's been resourceful. That's been strategic. So you got one more day to be strategic, because today is April 1st. He did not want to um, make April 1st be the day, for the first of like all the tariffs. He didn't want to do that. So that's why he went ahead and did April 2nd. He didn't want April Fool's Day to be the day to implement, the change with the tariffs on the auto industry. So April 2nd is the day, which is what he refers to as Liberation Day. The question is, what does that mean to you? I know just from just being tapped in, listening to everything going on, listening to the different opinions from just red, blue, like everyone's opinion, your regular everyday people. There's a lot of people who are fearful of what's going to happen with the USA as a result of these tariffs. A lot of people, a lot of Americans, I'm going to say a lot of American people are fearful of the increase in just goods in general. Automobiles, let's talk automobiles. Since this 25% tariff, it's going to be on the automobiles. These things that I'm speaking on, this has come from as what I just spoke on, as far as with the automobile and the tariffs, and the country getting the extra 30, I mean the big three getting extra 30 days. These are things that Trump has said. I listen to Trump when he does his press conference. I listen to him when he does his press conference, and when he does his press conferences, because he does multiple of them. He likes to talk. So I'll tap in when he's doing his press conferences. He did one yesterday. So what I just finished speaking on is what he said yesterday. If you did not see that, go check it out. He was in the Oval Office with the celebrity Kid Rock. So today, or no, should I say tomorrow being Liberation Day, tomorrow being the day for the tariffs of the 25%. Many people are concerned about the increase in just things such as automobiles. The increase in price, that price could increase anywhere from $2,000 to $12,000. It just depends on the price of the vehicle. It depends on the price of the vehicle. So a tariff is like a tax. So whatever fees and everything that was already assessed on that vehicle, If it's a vehicle that's being imported in, there's going to be an additional 25% tariff tax. So just add that to the bill, add that to the equation. So as you're saving your coin to try to buy a car, if this vehicle is imported, meaning that like a lot of these makers, they don't they don't put the vehicle entirely together here in the USA, which is what I've learned throughout all of this. There's portions of it that's done, as far as with work and things that's been done on vehicles. Portions of some of the process takes place outside of the country, like in Canada or Mexico. Trump would like for just the entire vehicle to just be made here in the USA. So that is the purpose of these tariffs. He's wanting to bring back manufacturing here in the USA. At one point, we used to heavily do our manufacturing. That was probably like back in like the 80s. Then we moved away from that. And we became more of a like service-led type country where we provided more. It was more centered around services versus manufacturing, piecing, putting things together. He wants to change that. There are some people who believe that, well, that's not an overnight process. That can take years. It's a lot of planning, whatever. Trump's like, okay, well, make it do what it do. Get to working on it. But that's the direction I feel like, we need to take the country. We need to take back control with creating our own goods, making our own things, including vehicles, because it creates jobs. It creates jobs first and foremost. That's pretty much why he wants to have, you know, things manufactured in the US. It creates jobs. It creates jobs. He talked about I've been talking about just the again when he does his press conferences, I listen, I tap in. He's talked about how I've been sharing on my channel the different makers who have committed to manufacturing like their vehicles here already. We have Honda, Hyundai. Uh, who else we have? I feel like there was one more who committed to uh, manufacturing over here. But he said with all of the deals that he's brokered already, he's made with these companies, tech companies. There's a big $1 billion like tech company that's coming here, along with the makers, the makers of these videos. It's already totaled about three. It's at about $3 trillion worth of deals that's already been made, meaning that this is the money that's been committed to spend in the USA. About 3 trillion. He says with verbal agreements that he has with other companies that he hasn't spoke on yet, it's about 5 trillion. So when I looked up as of yesterday, when I looked up our debt, the national debt, it was a little more than $36 trillion, maybe about $36.4 trillion that we are in debt. So right now, with what he's doing, centered around these tariffs, he's nearing $4 to $5 trillion already. So he's saying he's motivated by doing this to get our country in a better position financially. Let me know in the comments. I can't see them right now, but let me know your thoughts centered around that. Do you think that's brilliant? Do you think that no, that's a dumb idea? There's other ways. Like, what do you think? Because our debt is just astronomical. It's just out of control. I don't even know how you even tackle a debt like that. But he's saying, hey, we're gonna do it through these tariffs, and we're gonna do it through the selling of gold cards. I've talked about that on this channel. Tap in, like, share, subscribe. I'm always coming out here talking about the things that the Trump administration is doing, and I report on information that he and his office, his team talks about. Caroline holds press conferences fairly often as well as President Trump. So I'll listen in and see, what they're talking. And I come out here and I talk to you all about it. And then I'll throw in some things that, other people are talking about that are on an opposing side or whatever. So I like to have a balanced conversation over here because listen, this is the place. The people want to know, the people have opinions, and this is the place to provide your opinion, to share your opinion. Uh, so remember the gold cards, he's selling those 5 million a piece. From what his administration is reporting, they have already sold. This was as of last week, so they may have sold more, but at the time that I heard this, they had already sold about 1,000. So that put that's I think the calculation was $5 billion being made already from the sale of the gold cards. If they sold 1,000, because that's what the Trump administration is reporting, that they've already sold. They've sold 1,000, and they are 5 million a piece for the gold card, and that's for those who are rich, because you're rich if you can afford that. Business people having the opportunity to come over here and set up shop, bring whoever, your team, whoever's going to work with you to set up your business. And the ultimate goal is to be able to operate your business from here, make money from the American consumer, and the money that's made from the sale of the gold card going towards the national debt. So this is President Trump's strategy for getting our debt down. Let me know. You think it makes sense? Are you here for this strategy? Because this is the strategy. Now, I don't know what strategy the previous administration had, because I ain't never heard any talks of a strategy. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, this is his strategy. So what was it? And some of you may know, what was Biden doing? What was his strategy for getting down the national debt? Because all I can recall was a lot of spending, meaning a lot of money being sent over to fund wars and things in other places. Fund wars that ain't had nothing to do with us. Funding the Ukraine and the Russia, the war, funding that war. Yesterday, also, Trump talked about, he's ready. He's feeling a way, I guess, right now about Putin when it comes to this whole war thing. I think, he feels like Putin, he can kind of probably be doing more than what he's doing with trying to put an end to this war. But he's saying right now in this war between um, Russia and Ukraine, they're losing about 20, I think he said about 24, 2,500 lives per week, the lives of soldiers. That's a lot of lives being lost in a war. For what? Like, what we doing? Why are we even at, like, I'm saying we at, but for them, like, what, why are even they, come on now. So that's a lot of lives being lost. So he's like, listen, I'm ready for it to end. Like, it needs to end because there's a lot of lives being lost, and it just needs to end. But it has not ended yet. It hasn't ended yet. So right now, Trump's attention is really on trying to bring in money into the U.S. to get our debt down, as well as to create jobs for the people. Because y'all know government damn near gone. Like, it ain't really much popping with government. He came in, or he ran on wanting to thin out the government. He felt like government was just too big, oversaturated. So he's definitely thinned it out. So now he's like, listen, there's other ways. Good morning, Yvonne. He's like, listen, there's other ways uh, to make money in the USA. Government isn't the only option. You have private, jobs in the private sector. Uh, and then you have, in examples of those jobs, is manufacturing. So he's bringing a lot of manufacturing job opportunities to the U.S. As a result of these deals that he's making with these businesses. He talked about, like, even Apple. Apple, I think, historically would manufacture their products and things in, I believe, China. So now, they're going to try to do that here. So they're an example of a tech company who's going to manufacture their products here in the USA, which is good. Again, more jobs. Anytime I talk about manufacturing, that is going to be job opportunities. Why? Because somebody got to do it. He said for every dollar that's been made in our country, remember I'm saying he's making deals in the upwards of $3 to $5 million. He said that's a dollar spent towards a person, uh, I guess, paycheck. A person is making that amount of money. So if he's saying, listen, $3 trillion, that's basically $3 trillion that goes into paying someone to do a job here in the US. Who's Good morning says, sorry, Sheik, I don't agree with Trump economics. Listen, talk about it. What don't you agree? Because a lot of people don't agree with how he's doing, and this is just a place you can talk about it respectfully. Talk your talk. I'm throwing out the things that are being said, the reasoning behind it of what they are saying. Here and there, I'll throw in my opinions on some things. Right now, it's a lot of information that I'm aware of that I want to just put out there for you all. So that's where I'm at now, more so kind of dropping the information, more so probably than elaborating on my thoughts centered around it. I do feel like, yes, our debt is out of control, and we have to do something about it. We have to do something about it. Right now, we're here where Trump has identified the solution being through tariffs. Uh, do I feel like that's the solution? I don't know. I mean, it's an idea. It's an idea. So I'm not mad at the idea of giving it a try. From a logic perspective, I see where he's going with it, and I can see. To me, I view it as strong arming companies to do things the way he wants them to do it, which is basically to manufacture their goods here. So if that's his strategy, and those people are like, all right, then I'm going to play your game, then okay, that's a win. Now, yes, higher tariffs for those companies who choose to still import. Yes, it's going to result in an upcharge on the goods here, but at the same time, we have the decision of whether or not we want to uh, support those businesses who have those tariff fees that have to be assessed onto us. So that's the responsibility of each American. If you rock with that brand that hard and you're willing to pay an extra 25% tariff because that's how loyal you are to that brand, you're going to have those people out there who are just that loyal and who can afford to be that loyal. Because for the way I see it, a lot of people are not going to be able to afford to be that loyal to pay an extra 25% tariff, which is technically an extra 25% tax. So President Trump, he knows that. So that's why he's like, okay, well, people know they're not going to be able to afford that. That's why I'm doing it, because I want them to turn to the American made companies, the companies that are doing everything completely in America. So that's the strategy, because he know people ain't gonna want to like pay these extra fees. So he's like, okay, well, yes, if you're not gonna want to do that, as a result, you're going to move around, right? You're going to start shopping around in other places. You're going to become more resourceful or do more research on who you're choosing to do business with, and you're going to opt to do business with American made, companies who manufacture their products here. That is his goal, all of that. He wants people to be in that position and say, oh my God, I can't afford that, so let me go do this. Let me go purchase this item, which I can afford. You see, that is his logic behind it. So, from a logical standpoint, I follow the logic. I follow the logic. Now, if I would sit in the emotional part, I can understand someone feeling a certain type of way about not being able to afford to, say, purchase that Ford vehicle that has to get imported, even though like the F-150, oh, it's my favorite truck in the world. That's the only truck I want to drive. So I get it to where it's just like, oh, it's like a breakup. I can't buy, oh my God, I can't do business with Ford because I can't afford it, even though I love them. I love them. I love them. I have to see what Honda talking about. I have to see like what Honda talking about. I mean, I got to get them a try because they're American made. I can afford them. So all right, Honda, what you talking about? Let me see what you talking about, Honda. So this is a situation that people are finding themselves in. They have to try try something different, and that's not always bad. Change can be good, but this is forcing people to have to explore other options. Change like no other way. Change. People are now going to have to move outside of their comfort zone. Okay, well, I'm not familiar with Honda. Okay, so they're going to have to what? Start doing their research, become familiar with this brand. Okay, how do they make cars? All right. They got what's their safety rating? All of this. They have to start doing this because many of them will no longer be able to afford to pay those extra fees on the brands, the makes that they are familiar with. So, from a logical standpoint, I do follow what he's doing. Also, I will add, yesterday, I was listening to Governor Ron DeSantis. He's the governor of Florida. And you all know, and that's why you have to move around and just tap into different outlets. Because if you listen to like one outlet, you may hear a narrative going one way, and then you listen to another news outlet and you hear a narrative going a completely different way. So you just kind of got to move around. And so that's what I do. I just move around and just listen to like different outlets. And so I was listening to, Ron DeSantis. He had did a press conference and he was talking about, the things that he wants to do with his state as far as the removal of property taxes. But he said something that I kind of found interesting because how many of you have heard talk about how a lot of Canadians are saying they're not going to come over to the USA, they're not going to do business over here, all of that. They're not going to New York anymore. They're not going to Florida. They're not going to come over across the line just to grocery shop because that's a thing too. Because they say it's so expensive over there. So Ron DeSantis said, it was just spring break recently passed, because right now spring break where I live is next week. So, he just finished, having, vacation, enjoying time off with his family in Florida. And he said a bunch of people like came up to him while he was out and about somewhere with his family. I don't know if it was centered around the Disney parks. I don't know, but he's like a bunch of people came up to him, wanted to take pictures, the usual. He said he's used to it, no problem. He said it was a lot of kids and it was a lot of Canadian families. He was like, all these kids were Canadian that like ran up to him and things. So he was like, he was surprised because remember in the news, you hear about Canada being anti USA. We not rocking with you no more. We not doing this. We not doing that. He said where he was located, I can't remember exactly where he was at. I feel like it was like one of those theme parks, wherever he was at. Some places kid friendly because he said it was a lot of kids. He said 80% of the people there were Canadian. And he asked the adults, he was like, hey, I thought you all weren't coming over here anymore. And they were like, no, we still coming over here. We love Florida. We not. Now, how many of you all have heard something different in the media as it pertains to how the Canadians feel about the USA and what's been going on and them saying we ain't rocking with USA no more, this, that, and the third? Ron DeSantis said 80% of the people where he was at vacationing were Canadians. They said they told that man, no, like we still coming over there. What you talking about? We love Florida. We not gonna stop coming over here. So that's why I want to put that out there. That's why I just move around. I listen to the different outlets or whatever, whether they're red, blue, independent, like myself. Like I just tap in, just as here, just do a temperature check to see what the people are saying, and I come out here and I report on it. So that's why when you come over here, you're not going to hear me going hard one way or the other. It's kind of coming from like more like a balance where I'm just sharing what's been said out there. what's been said out there. So Ron DeSantis, so again, he's the governor of Florida. Right now, he is working very hard to eliminate property tax. He said that his state, like the sale, they're seeing a decline in real estate. The purchase of real estate there, because many people are concerned about the property tax. They're like, listen, I can't keep up with the property taxes, so they're choosing to not purchase the way they used to. So sales are down when it comes to real estate, and he's wanting to change that. Right now, Florida is one of 10 no income tax states. Recently, I guess over the weekend or last week, the state of Mississippi became the 10th state that is a no income tax state, which means that they do not assess state tax on income. So for individuals, there's a couple of states that don't assess the state tax on corporation income as well. So not only your individual income, but corporation income as well. But for the most part, these state, no income tax states, they don't assess the state tax on your income. So on your paycheck, you're not going to see a state tax. They get their money from other ways. Like, for example, Florida, they get their money through like sales tax, things like that. So you might find in some of these states, they may have a higher sales tax because they don't assess the state tax on the income. So, they just find other ways to make up the money. I also learned Governor DeSantis said that they do not assess state tax on the purchase of any baby items. How many of you all knew that? Let me know if you're in the state of Florida. I did not know that. I thought that was cool. Like he said, that's been a thing for about 2 years now, that where they do not assess a sales tax on all baby goods, baby items. There is no state tax. Like there's no tax, sales tax. It's not a sales tax on that, on those items. He just talked about just different things that they do within that state, like where they'll have a day, like for certain, like there'll be a day, I can't remember the name that he called it, where it won't be a tax centered around the purchase of like guns or ammo and things like that. So they do little creative things. Of course, back to school, it'll be a day where on the purchase of school supplies, no tax on the school supplies. I remember Georgia done that a few times, but it's been a while since we did that. I kind of forgot, that we used to do that. But Florida, they do a lot of these things where they'll just have these tax holiday things. I think he called them tax holidays or whatever. So I thought that was cool. So he's like, listen, the property tax situation is out of control. And the example that he used, that I was like, that's a great example. Um, I want to share. He said, like, say you go into like a store and you buy a flat screen TV. You purchase a TV and it's going to be a tax, assessed on it. You own that TV now. You paid tax on that TV one time. So why is it that when you purchase a home and you own that home, you're continuously having to pay a tax on it year after year? You already own it. Why are you still paying a tax over and over again? So I thought that was a great example because that made sense. So that's why he's saying, yo, we have to do something about it, because there are people who maybe bought their house 20 plus years ago, maybe at $250,000. Today, that home is worth over $1 million. So guess what? The sales tax, not the sales tax, the property tax is assessed on the value of the home, not what you purchased it at. So that property tax is no longer assessed at the $250,000, which maybe you could have afforded. You could afford the property tax on 250,000. But now, if Florida's saying, hey, your property is now worth $1 million, that person's like, okay, I can't afford a property tax based on a $1 million property. You see, because it's based off of the value of the property. So as your value of your property continuously go up, which for the most part, just about everywhere, that is what's happening. then your property taxes is increasing. So you have a lot of people who are now seniors, fixed income, they're homeowners, and a lot of them have already paid off their homes. They paid them off. They bought the house 30 plus years ago. It's paid off. So every year they still have the bill that's coming like clockwork for the property tax. And they don't have it. They're on their Tasha K. I ain't got it. I don't have it. I can't afford to pay this property tax on this $1 million, this home that you say is valued at $1 million. Because the question is, who's determining the value of these properties? Because I also have heard Ron DeSantis. I've listened to him a few times before. I like to listen to him speak because I feel like he does a lot. He does a lot of he advocates a lot for the Floridians, and I like that. And I heard him once say, like, who's determining the value of these properties? Because, and I believe it was him who said that, is because only how you know what your property really is valued at is what someone's willing to pay, right? So who says that somebody's willing to pay $1 million for my home? You say it's worth $1 million, but nobody ain't came to me saying, hey, Sheik, I'll pay you $1 million for your house. So where is this number coming from that you're saying that now my property is valued at and now you're wanting me to pay a tax on? These are the questions that are being asked by Governor DeSantis, which is why it is on his docket to do away with property tax. His goal is to have this mission accomplished by, I believe he said November 2026. I know it's sometime in late 2026, but it's a little bit out, but I think the reason why it's that far out is because he has to go through, you know how it's red tape. You got to go through all these different people and things, to get things approved or whatever. But this is what he wants to do. So I'm sure the people are here for it and they're willing to wait for that because at least it's up for conversation. At least it's something that he finds to be an issue that has his attention. So a lot of times that's good. People are okay with waiting for something to transpire if they know it has your attention and that you're working on it. That you're working on it. So a real estate agent, there at the conference spoke and just talked about how he was just really happy to hear that the governor was taking the matter centered around property tax so seriously because it is impacting the real estate market in the state of Florida. And he sees that, the real estate market will get a lot better just simply with this change, with the removal of the property tax. I will add also, Governor Ron DeSantis said that since he has been governor, I'm not sure how long I feel like he's been governor for about 3-4 years. Excuse me. He said since he's been governor, their debt has gone down by like 41%. And he says that they're not really operating in a deficit. They more so have like a surplus. I think he said they got about $5 million of money. So that's the money the excess money that they have. That's the money he wants to use to give to Floridian people who currently have the homestead properties. So that's basically meaning these are the people who their primary home, their property is their primary residence. Those are the people who would get this perk. And he wants to give them each like $1,000 to go towards the property tax. Because remember, he was like, listen, we're doing well. We're in the positive versus the negative. So I'd rather, use that money and give it to the people to go towards their property taxes versus using it to go towards some other type of I think he said it's been presented to him to put the money towards like other things because he's like the money will get spent. So he's like he wants to be strategic with how that money is going to get spent. So that's why he's like, yo, I feel like the money is best spent by giving it to the property owners who qualify for homestead to use that towards their property tax. And then people like say if you have investment properties in Florida, then yes, you still continue to pay property tax or whatever. but he wants the Florida residents to not have to pay property tax. And I'm not mad at that. I think that's a wonderful perk for someone to have who lives in your state. Like, that's an incentive. It may, bring people to your state. So I think that's a wonderful idea, is to offer that perk of, hey, if you're a homeowner here, you won't have to pay property tax. So that's the direction he's trying to go. If he is able to accomplish this, I believe he will be the first state to do this. And you know how it is. Once one person do it, other people start following along. It takes off. So that's what I hope happens with this. Just like probably with the no income tax states. It probably started with one state. It probably started with one state, because I looked it up. Like, it's like 10 states that do it. It's I think Wyoming, Nevada, um, Mississippi, Florida, I think Tennessee. There's like 10 of them. Like I said, recently, within the past week, probably the past days, Mississippi got added to that list. I watched the clip, the news clip of the governor of Mississippi signing the order for their state to be a no income tax state. And they were the 10th state to do that. And it was something that that he was excited to do for their state. And Lord, who knows how long it took to get to this place where it was able to be done. So the fact that Governor DeSantis is saying, hey, this is what I'm working on, that's good, because a lot of times things don't happen overnight. We'll look up and we'll see something take place, but we don't really know the ins and out behind the scenes as to how they were able to get there, what that journey looked like, the approvals and things they had to go through. Because I would imagine with when you're dealing with things like this, there's several, people and things like that that you're going through to get to sign off. Um, the governor of Mississippi just talked about how well or how much better their state is doing. And in particular, when it comes to education for Black children, fourth graders. He talked about at one point the fourth grader reading and writing level was like in the lower 50 percentile. I think they might have been maybe at 51%, something, not too great. And he said now they're, I think they're for math, let me see, for reading, they're like number 3 in the nation. And for math, I think they're number 8. And for the region, they're number 1 for reading. So he's very proud of how they've improved, when it comes to the Black children, fourth grade level. My husband's like, what's the deal with the fourth grade? And I think I've heard talk centered around grade 4, where there's a lot of planning that takes place with projecting what the future will look like for children or a child based off of their reading levels and things like that at like third and fourth grade. So I don't know if fourth grade is a grade level that a lot of things are just being evaluated at, as far as with predicting the direction a child will go, if there's something about grade 4. But these numbers and things, everything that he was talking about, it was grade 4. It was just comparing those children against other children in grade 4. So Mississippi for grade 4 is doing very well when it comes to the reading and the writing. But he said, they just put a lot of, just was intentional with making a lot of changes, so therefore they can get to this place where where the children in Mississippi are able to perform better in the schools. So you can kind of research that. But coming off of that, it had me to think, like, when Ron DeSantis seen that the governor of Mississippi had, did some changes to their tax, if that kind of put a fire underneath him to say, you know what, I want to talk more about what I'm trying to do when it comes to the property tax. Because I'd heard him talk multiple times about the whole wanting to rid the property tax, but he's pretty serious about it. He's like, listen, he even throwing out dates. I think he said November 2026. He's throwing out dates. So look into it. If you are a Floridian, look into it. Your governor, he is working very hard to try to eliminate property tax. And I already, even though I don't even live in Florida, but I think it's awesome. And I can only hope that something like that makes its way to the neighboring states. Like I live in Georgia or just any of the states. I think that's awesome. I'm always here for savings for the working class people because the rich continue to get rich, right? And speaking of rich, let's go back to Trump and his administration. What I learned, what I learned before coming onto this live, I was just kind of looking at some things in the media, and I learned about this Treasury Secretary by the name of Scott Bessent. And apparently, Scott was on record of saying that Americans should, stop expecting cheap products because inflation is here. So I'm like, okay, so I couldn't go really do a too much of a deep dive into that, but I saw that. But I did what I did learn about, learn as it pertains to who this man is. Uh, this man, he started his career working for George Soros, um, who happens to be a billionaire who's a big investor for the Democratic Party. So during Trump's first campaign, Trump claimed that Soros was funding protesters to go against him. So some of you have made heard of George Soros, and I mostly was hearing about him during the last Trump campaign. And George Soros been connected with like Black Lives Matters and things like that. So apparently Scott Bessent he started his career working for George Soros. And Scott Bessent is a hedge fund manager. So it's just interesting that, this man, Scott Bessent, he's now is part of the Trump administration. He's the Treasury Secretary for the Trump administration. I bring that up as I talk about we are in times where it's not centered around race. It's centered around more so haves versus have nots, billionaires versus working class people. Because the rich is always going to look after the rich. And what I'm seeing today is a lot of the working class people coming together. And that's, when I say, and when I see that, when I see news clips of them with their signs in front of buildings and talking their talk and saying whatever they are saying, but they are coming together. Many of these people who are coming together with their signs, picketing, marching, whatever you want to call it, rallying. A lot of these people have been impacted as of late by a lot of changes that have taken place with the current administration. Uh, they've been impacted by loss of jobs. So listen, you ain't got no job. Listen, you got time on your hand. So a lot of these people are showing up and, boycotting places like Tesla, standing in front of the government buildings like the CDC building here in Atlanta. Like these people are coming out in large numbers. They're banding together. That's the working class people coming together. So, and when I see these people, these are people that are not all of just from one race. These people come from different cultural backgrounds, different ethnic groups. They are coming together because what they have in common is that they don't have a job and they're working class people that rely on their job to support themselves and their families. Meanwhile, you have the billionaires, the people with all the monies, these are the shot callers. So these are the ones who are saying, hey, suck it up, buttercup. Suck it up, buttercup. Inflation is here. You will be all right. All this, that, and the third. Remember, I talked about one person from Trump administration saying that if his mother-in-law didn't get her Social Security check, it wouldn't be no sweat off her back. She'd be fine. No big deal. Read the room. This is what I call read the room. Of course, her son-in-law, you're a billionaire because this man who made this comment is a billionaire. So yes, she's going to be good. If she don't get her check, She has her family, her rich daughter, son-in-law to take care of her, to make sure her bills and things are still getting paid. The average working class American does not have that. The average working class American does not have someone to call when their check did not get deposited for whatever reason. They don't. They don't. The average American person is one paycheck away from being homeless, one paycheck away from not having a vehicle to get them to and from work. The average working class American does not have a savings that allows for them to be unemployed for a long length of time. The average American cannot live off of unemployment. So the average American needs to work a job, is what I'm saying. So people need jobs. Trump is saying, I know this, and these companies will be here soon, and they're going to set up shop, and you will have someone to work for other than the government. And this is going to be a situation to where jobs will be here, but it's going to come down to, are they the jobs you want? Because you have a number of people that are like, listen, I don't want to work that kind of job. I don't want to work in a manufacturer. I want this, I want that. So will people be willing to go without because they're prideful? They're too prideful to work in a manufacturing environment. It's going to come a time to where people are going to have to accept the fact that what was is no longer is. What used to be is no longer a thing. Someone who used to be able to kick their heels up and work a job in a building, maybe in an office, doing whatever they were doing, that's no longer a thing. And they have to reinvent themselves, learn new trades, and work another type of job in another type of field, another type of industry. Like that day is here. That day is here. And I come out here to let you know about these things that are to come. So therefore people can prepare the best way they can, because that's what it's about. This is preparation. This is preparation. I'm saying, hey, many manufacturing jobs are coming. So now is the time to start preparing for that. Now is the time to start doing your research, your due diligence, to learn what type of job qualifications will be needed, what type of skills will be needed in order to do these type of jobs, because these are the jobs that are coming during the Trump administration. They're coming. These are the type of jobs that are going to be here. So to set yourself up in the best way possible, it's important for you to start researching these types of jobs. Maybe you can start researching what type of pay, what type of money people in these industries make, because it might excite you. You might be surprised. Some of you who may be, excuse me, be interested in going back to school to take up a trade or whatever, you may be interested. It may spark an interest in you to go and learn more about manufacturing, engineering, things like that, things that cause for you to utilize your hands more. Non-office type jobs, those blue collar jobs, you know, maybe it versus, because you got a lot of people now at a point to where you're trying to figure out, okay, I got to figure out how to prepare for the direction that the economy and the country is moving. What kind of jobs will there be in the future? Because those are good questions to ask, so you won't find yourself going to school spending a lot of money to learn something that's not going to be around in the next 10, 15, 20 years. Because AI is a big thing. AI is coming in hard. I was watching a video recently with just these robots and these different companies. I think it profiled maybe like 10 companies that have robots. Tesla was one of them, where they got these robots that are like they look like bodies, as far as like with the limbs and things. The mechanics, the things that these robots can do is crazy. But the future is that people will have robots in their homes doing tasks like vacuuming, ironing, doing laundry, washing dishes, uh, all kinds of things. Like, that is the way of the future. So the way I think, if I'm seeing that that's the direction, my question is, okay, who makes these? What's required to put something like this out there in the market? What type of programming is necessary? So for those of you who are young and wondering, okay, what am I going to do? What kind of job? If you're a teenager, you're a college student, you're early in the game with trying to figure out, life, and, prepare for your future. To me, it makes more sense to center your education around technology. Technology is the way. Technology, everything as far as with the direction that our future is going, it's centered around tech. Young man, young lady, laser in on technology. That's what I recommend you do. Do your research, programming, coding, anything tech related, technology. If you are interested in like a trade school, anything where you can utilize your hands with assembling things, putting things together. Because even with these robots and things, you're going to need people to provide maintenance for them. You're going to have that people are going to have to be able to like put them together, piece them together. You got to put them together. Then there's the programming, where the programming behind, okay, them being able to do what they can do. You got to look into it. Just go online and Google like robots of the future, robots in homes, because this is what they're saying that's going to be in the average person's like home. They'll have a robot to help out, the robot to, while you're sitting at the dinner table, the robot to come to bring you uh, whatever it is that you need, your cup of tea, your plate. Like, these robots are just doing things that humans could do. So research that, figure out how you can be a part of that. Because here's the thing, this is the way of the future, and it's nothing you can do to control it. So it's not about whether or not you like it or not. It comes down to how can you fit into that, to where you still see that you have a job and you're needed. How can you be a part of that? That's basically what it's coming down to, because you can't fight it. It is what it is. It's here in some capacity. Like, in a lot of ways, we use AI, but it's going to be used even more. It's going to be used even more. This is the way of the future. So do your research, figure it out. Those of you who have children, start talking to your children about, the type of careers and things, they want to have in the future. Talk to them about the direction that the world is going. So as they think about a job that they may want to do to support themselves, because that's the goal, right? You want your children to be able to leave the house and to be able to support themselves, not leave the house, acquire thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, and they can't find a job. That's not what you want. And unfortunately, that is a situation for a lot of people today, but you don't want that for your children, right? That's not what you want for your children, right? So you want to talk to them and kick the reality to them as to the direction of the future. Be realistic. It's the direction of the future, physical teachers in a classroom. So do you want to push your child into education, to becoming a teacher with the way of the future. These are the things that I'm saying you got to start thinking about and asking, questions and seeking out answers. So therefore, your child, you can set your child up to win. If they are interested in education, do your research to figure out how education is intertwined with, say, technology, and how they can still, you know, tap into education while still being in tech. I don't know. You got to figure it out, because the way of the future, the way we're going, it's not going to be the classroom type situation. Like, that's not going to be. I do not foresee that being the norm with how the learning environments look, where there's a teacher there, 40 kids sitting in chairs and looking at her as she's standing in front of the classroom to teach. I don't see the education looking that way probably 20 years from now. I don't see it. I see it to where it's been more independent. So let's just say you do have a classroom. I see fewer children being in that classroom with laptops and and learning with the use of AI, basically having tailored teachings. So let's just say, you got the 10 kids in a classroom, or let's just say it's even more. You got more kids in a classroom to one teacher. Let's go with that, because you're not going to need as many teachers. So let's just say you got 60 kids in a classroom to one teacher. Each child has their laptop with a tailored education plan in front of them, and they are learning at their own pace. I see that being the future of education versus everyone progressing and moving along at the same time. It's kind of like, kids who are like homeschool or learn, do homeschooling. They kind of learn on their own pace, right? uh, they're given a curriculum and they just get through it however quickly they can get through it. I see the classroom environments kind of being that way too. So it's like you're physically there, but you're kind of going at your own pace. So you might be held up on learning one type of math, where another student have kind of surpassed that level, and now they're trying to learn. Their educational plan already has them working on whatever that type of method may be, whereas that other student, they're still working on whatever they're working on. So you're just progressing at your own pace, and you're still in the classroom. That is how I foresee the future of education. So with that being said, does it make sense for many people to go to school and get degrees, a teaching degree, to aspire to be a teacher in the classroom? I'm saying, like, these are the questions you have to ask. You got to be realistic about the way of the future and the direction we're going. You have to. It's not about what you like or don't like. It's about what is. It's in the movies. I talk about the things you see in the movies. That means it's already a thing. It's programming. They're just getting you ready. They're just getting you ready for what's going to be presented to you, because in some instances it's already taken place. You just don't know it. It's taking place somewhere else, not just in your world, like in your community, but it's a thing. So putting it in a movie is getting you programmed to think like, oh my God, that's crazy, the idea of that. So therefore, when you see it, you'll be like, okay, I've seen this before. It's not going to be that new to you, because you saw it in the movies, but you've seen it before, right? So that's it. That's kind of warming you up to the idea of this thing being a thing. So it's paid. Listen, when you're watching these movies, especially movies centered around futuristic things, things that tap into a lot centered around technology, that's real. It's real. It's, don't look at it. Oh, it's fake. That's only in the movies. Okay. They said one country already working on, they flying vehicles somewhere. I don't know if it's one of the Asian countries, but remember years ago as kids, the Jetsons, it was like my favorite cartoon. That was a thing. Remember, with the flying cars in the homes, everything was just so quickly made, like with the food. It was just crazy, just the way in that cartoon they incorporated technology. Back then, when I was watching that cartoon, the internet, social media, like that wasn't even a thing like that. So here it was, I'm watching this cartoon that was heavily focused on like technology, like stuff that like we're seeing today. Remember, I say programming, the phones, the type of phones, the phones that looked like cell phones, just like they look like smartphones. Y'all remember that? We might need to go back and look at some of those old cartoons, because I used to like that. And then I would like to watch the Flintstones. You see the polar, how different those worlds were. The Flintstones and the Jetsons. They were completely different worlds, but both worlds were like crazy, because at that time when I was watching those cartoons, I wasn't seeing things look like either one of the worlds. So what, I was in the midway, because it definitely wasn't it wasn't Flintstone world, when I was growing up watching these cartoons in the 80s and 90s. It wasn't that world, but as a kid, my world was it wasn't Jetsons either. It wasn't. But when I looked at the Jetsons world, that was the world to where it was just like, ooh, ah, you ooh and you ah, and you just thought it looked so cool, to where you wouldn't mind living in a time where it was like that, where you were flying all over the place like that. It wasn't a car on ground, but you were getting to it through like your flying vehicle. We were oohing and eyeing, we're here. We're here. We are here. This is the stuff that I be talking about. So when you're watching these shows and these movies, you got to take it beyond entertainment. You got to pull out the lessons in it. What are the takeaways? Because now we can have whole think pieces now about the things that we watch on TV. It happens a lot with Netflix shows and things like that, where people having conversations about what they saw, what they picked up. Ooh, did you peep this when they dropped this gem? Like, and people are going back rewatching things over and over again, because it's just like it's so many messaging. It's cold. It's cold. So a lot of what's going to take place, it's already in the things that we watch. It's in code. How many of you now, like, you when you watch Disney cartoons, how many of you, now you pick up the symbols that you've learned about, the codes, the things that you've been seeing all these years, and your kids and your babies been seeing, and you didn't think anything of it, because it's just Disney, right? It's a cartoon. And you ain't thinking nothing of it. But then now when you learn what ish mean and you go back and watch it, you like, well, I'll be dang. You like, oh, this the type of time they on. This what they doing? Oh, Maria, Keisha, Carlos, David, you can't watch this no more. You can't watch this no more, because it's things that are hidden in these shows. Remember, I talked about programming. Many of us have been programmed all our lives. I would probably say all of us American, like all our lives, but you didn't know. And now today we are starting to learn so much, so many things, to where it's like that's where the whole woke thing come from. Because that means awareness. Now you're aware. You're not asleep anymore. And once you become aware, there is no going back. It's like the beast has woken up, and there's no going back. You can't unlearn something. So now you out here moving differently, you seeing things differently. And that's where the whole idea of people, the conspiracy theories, like where people start to throw that out there, but it's no longer a conspiracy theory when it shows to be true, right? When you're now, many of us are starting to see the receipts and the proof. And we know, like, wow, when people try to convince us like, oh, that's fake, that's a conspiracy, then, but we're starting to see the receipts of it. And now it's just like, no, no, no. It's real. It's real, real. It's real, real. You can be in denial, live in denial all you want, and in Delulu land all you want. But just because you choose to not deal with something does not make it not a thing. That just means that you just choosing to not deal with it. But it's still a thing. It's just a thing you're choosing to not deal with for whatever reason. And I get it. A lot of what's going on is so heavy out here in the world. It's so heavy. Today, April 1st, April Fool's Day. I know a lot of what's going on. I wish it was just someone to just be like, April Fools. How many of you feel that way? Where a lot of this is just popping off. You just wish that somebody be like, April Fools, and it's no longer a thing. And you feel like you can woosah and you can sleep at night. Someone telling you you don't have a job, and then they follow, 2 weeks ago, and then today they told you April Fools. How many of you wish that was the case? Someone told you you're getting evicted. They told you, a couple weeks ago, and today they told you April Fools. April Fools, I think, is hitting in a different way than it ever has before because there is so much going on right now that many people wish that someone to say April Fools, and it's no longer a thing. When someone's told, okay, yeah, your rent going up $500, somebody somewhere today wishing that the person, landlord, came back and said, April Fools. Somebody been told, hey, you're not getting that, you're no longer getting that, that check, that deposit, that social security check that you've been getting because according to audit, you shouldn't be getting this. April Fools. There are so many things taking place that people wish that somebody was just punking them. Y'all remember that show Punked? So many people wish that they was just being punked because that's just a joke, right? That means somebody's coming back and saying psych. Remember those when you were little, somebody tricked psych. A lot of people wish somebody would just pop out and be like, psych, you've been punked. April Fools, any of those. People don't care which one you use, but just say this is not real. Just say that my life is going back to the way it was. Like that. This is the place that a lot of people are sitting in. And the unfortunate part about it is that this place where we're at, this is the reality. This is here. This, remember, the Secretary of Treasury, Trump's Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, said, stop expecting cheap products. Inflation is here. So that cheap product, that's your rent, your mortgage, that's your car note, that's the food. He says, suck it up, buttercup. This is what he's saying. This is what the billionaire is saying. Suck it up, buttercup. We're here. Trump Liberation Day tomorrow, April 2nd. What does that mean for you? Because I'm sure it's a different meaning for each person. What does Liberation Day mean to you, for you? Do you feel like you're going to start to see better days? Or do you feel like every day is going to be like you being punked? Every day is going to be like you being punked. What do you anticipate? How do you anticipate your life um, being impacted as a result of what's going to take place tomorrow? Because it's taking place. And yesterday, President Trump said he'll come out either today or tomorrow to talk about it because it should be tonight at midnight when the tariffs take effect. But y'all know he love the camera. He's gonna come out here and he gonna talk to y'all. I say, he listen to what he got to say, whether you hear for what he doing or not. It's best that you listen because you want to be as informed as you possibly can, so you know how to prepare. That's what it's about. Just being informed, just knowing what's to come. And that's what I come out here to talk to you all about. Um, I talk to you all. I just encourage you all to just be informed, to be tapped in, to do your research, to ask questions, to seek out answers, because that's all you can do. You know, we all out here on a wing and a prayer. It's not about bashing one side or the other. It's about talking about what's taking place and where we're at. Trump is the president. Um, to talk about, well, what is, what shoulda, coulda, whatever. We're here. We're here. So what's important is we have to talk about, okay, what do we do now that we're here? How do we make it do what it do? How do we survive? What's next for you and your family? What's next? What does fighting look like for you? April 5th is coming up. How many of you will be participating on April 5th for, I guess that's just going to be a day to just talk your talk. I'm seeing on the internet a lot of people, black people, talking about sitting it out, not participating in it. They're like, listen, and I think largely a lot of them are saying, hey, we're not participating in it. I think it's centered around probably how they voted. Largely black people did not vote President Trump into office. He had more black votes than he had before, but most of his votes did not come from black people. Uh, so a lot of black people are like, listen, we're sitting it out, but we're here. We're here. So we're in survival mode. We got to talk about how we're going to move going forward. Will we be moving differently? Will you be spending differently? Will you be more mindful of the things you do with your money? Will you be more mindful of the brands that you choose to rock with, that you choose to support? Because starting tomorrow, 25% inflation on all imported um, auto goods. So if it's centered around auto, 25% if it's centered around auto. Trump is also assessing additional tariffs on other countries. Also, another thing, let me add, part of the liberation date and meaning behind it. Historically, we have been assessed heavy tariffs as well, you know, at the hands of other countries. So liberation date, also what comes out of that is Trump saying, hey, we're going to assess tariffs in the same way that these countries has assessed tariffs onto us. And in some instances, we're still not even matching that same energy, meaning the same percentage of tariffs that these places have matched onto us on goods. Some places, including Canada, have assessed tariffs in excess of 100, 200%. So he's saying, even though we're assessing our tariffs, it's still not as much as other countries has assessed on us, that still assess on us. So we're now just saying, hey, we want we want to be a part of the tariff game too. Like if you saying, hey, you finna assess X amount of, percent in tariff, we want to do it too. We just gonna give off that same energy. So that is what he's saying. Like, this is nothing. What we're doing, other countries have been doing this onto us. We're now saying, hey, we're going to do it back. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm Chic. Welcome to my channel. Chic Speaks on it. Please like the video. Just double tap the screen, like the video. It helps with the algorithm and circulate my content. I'm a smaller content creator. We're growing. I am growing. My channel is growing very quickly. Thank you to each and every one of you who have recently come across my channel and found my content. I know it's very different than what you may have seen out there, but I'm different. I think different. So you're getting all of me. This is me. This is who I am. This is who I am. I view myself as a balanced person, meaning I have the ability to see things from different sides and angles. So on this channel, you'll hear me talk about the pros and the cons of what's going on with the current administration. I'll talk about it. I'll share my opinion, and I'm open to hearing yours as long as it's in a respectful way. I have awesome moderators, so if it's not in a respectful way, they'll handle that. And however they handle it is just how they handle it. It's how they handle it. But for the most part, people respect, my platform and my moderators, and they come over here with some act right. My background is clinical mental health counseling, which means I have a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, which also means that I can be a therapist and charge you however much I want to charge you. And you come lay on my couch and tell me what the problem is. But I choose to show up in this way. I no longer have the desire to help my community by an hourly rate. Like, I just don't do it. I desire to help my community and show up for my community um, through content creation, in particular YouTube. I like coming on YouTube because I can actually reach far more people here than just in an office with someone just coming and laying on my couch. So this is what I do. So I talk about politics, but I will talk about the psyche, this about a lot of things, because what's taking place today, it's impacting people mentally and emotionally right now. Like, everyone is impacted, and this is a worldwide thing. This is not even a US thing that I'm talking about. Like, this is something that's impacting people around the world, because the decisions even that our current administration is making, the decisions he's making, they're impacting other countries. They're impacting other countries. Canada is impacted by the decision that our country, our leader is making. Whether it's good or bad, regardless, it's impacting other people. Other people. I call it catching a stray. When the rich go at it with each other and they try to make decisions, us working class people, we're catching the stray, meaning that we're impacted. We're automatically impacted, even though we ain't told nobody to raise no tax on nothing. We ain't told nobody that you can't be here. You ain't supposed. We ain't done none of that, but we are impacted. We are impacted. That's catching the stray. We are impacted by the decisions of the rich, the elite. That's why I say it's more so a billionaires versus working class people type thing. Because us working class people, we are all on the same side. We're all on the same side. Because even regardless of whatever color you subscribe to, red, blue, whatever, there are a lot of people who still, across, those different parties, still feel like we're in a bad place right now. Now, the question or the argument is whether or not we're heading towards better days or not. But everyone agrees that we're not in a good situation politically, economically. Like, that is not up for debate at all. That is not up for debate. The debate comes in as to, are we on the right path to get out of this situation? That's where the conversation comes in there at. Are we going in the right direction? Are we being led in the right direction? Trump yesterday said that he's having conversations with people, businessmen, business owners, from other countries who had deals on the table to move their business or do their manufacturing in other countries, but they have now since switched over to doing business with the USA because of the tariff situation and his plan and his vision and all of that. They said, you know what, Trump, we was gonna go ahead with this country and set up shop over there, but we not gonna do that no more. We not gonna do that no more. We're not gonna do that anymore. We're gonna come to the USA and set up shop. And he didn't release any names, but he did say in the coming day or two that he was going to be making more announcements on businesses that were going to be moving to the USA to create manufacturing job opportunities. He said it. So When you see Trump in that office talking, I would say tap in, listen to what he has to say, regardless of how you feel, but just hear it for yourself. Because people come on here, hey, Sheik, where you get this from? Where you get that from? This is where I'm getting it from. I tap in, I listen to what he's saying, and I come back and I report on it. I'll listen to what Caroline is saying. She speaks for him. So what she is saying, this is the message that he's given to her for her to come out and say it to the people. So I listen to those two people and I come out here and I speak on it and we talk about it. I also listen to other people, other news outlets who share opinions about what he's saying. And I like to do that as well because it helps me to get more context on some of the things that are being talked about or the plans that he's making. Because sometimes I don't really always fully understand fully off of, like what I heard. So I'll do my research to kind of deep dive into some things to learn more about what they are saying is going on so I can get an understanding and to be able to share it with you all or whoever I talk to help you understand what's going on. But he's saying the direction that he's going is that it's in the direction that's creating job opportunities for American people. I call it on this channel growing pains because a lot of what's taken place has been very painful for people and it's not going to stop, but it's part of his process and his strategy to get to a better place. And I do understand that nothing happens overnight as far as with these jobs and the manufacturing, things like that, but you have to start someplace, right? You have to start someplace. So I do believe that he's starting now with putting things in motion for these companies, these countries to bring their businesses over here to start setting up shop so these job opportunities can come. But guess what? As it's going to take time for these jobs to come, you have time to start doing your due diligence, meaning researching these job opportunities, researching the skills that will be required for such job opportunities. Will you need to go to school to pick up a trade? Will you need to further your education in a particular industry to set yourself up to be positioned to get a job within this manufacturing industry? Because guess what? They're going to need all kinds of people. You're going to need the people who are working the assembly lines. You're going to need your human resources people. You're going to still need your engineers. You're gonna it's so like just think of any business because it's a business. So any types of accounting, like you still need all of this, right? For all of this. So it's not just okay, a job for the person on the assembly line. You need all these other positions that's going to have to be filled as well within these companies. That's why I say do your research, understand what type of job opportunities there are in the factory. Some of you may, like I have a degree in operations management. I have a bachelor's degree in operations management. So that's a business degree, but that's centered around like being inside of like warehouse, understanding the operations and things like that of within that environment because there's a lot of moving parts. So you have to understand the logistics and the workflow process and all of that. So I I'm I have an education in that, but I didn't never go into the environment to do such job. But that is what I have education in. So some of you may have education in that as well. So that's why with knowing this information, you can kind of prepare yourself for just when it comes to training to be able to get a job to work for one of these companies. Do your research, go to these companies websites. You got Honda. um, who else is coming here? There was a few of them that I named on a previous live. um, but check out their websites, follow them, see what types of positions that they have that they're hiring for. set up an account to maybe, get notifications on job postings, things like that. This is preparation. This is time to prepare now that we see the direction that President Trump is taking uh, the jobs into. It's manufacturing. Do your research and see what type of jobs fall underneath manufacturing, because that's the direction he's taking us. And he's here for these 4 years. So within the 4 years, these companies who have committed to coming over here, they will have their shop. They will be set up shop within the 4 years. What happens when he's out, I don't know. But even the conversation is being had with him trying to get a third term. People have been questioning him. He said he hasn't really thought a whole lot about it because he's been focusing on what's going on in present time. But he's been asked, quite often, like, what's the deal? Third term, third term. So think about it. What if he were to be president a third term, and it's more of this whole manufacturing thing? That's what I'm saying. So now you have the ability to do your due diligence with trying to prepare the best way you can to be gainfully employed in the job market, which is heavily manufacturing. Heavily manufacturing. I will soon be stationary to be able to get through these comments to try to answer as many questions as I had. If you have something pressing, please send a super chat. It comes over in color so I can see your question easier, because I get a lot of uh, activity in my chats. It be upwards in the thousands, depends on how many people came through. So if you put a super chat in with your question, I can see it easier. So basically, it's a priority to have your question read for however much you want. But yes, this channel is now monetized, so I'm able to utilize that feature. So please like the video, double tap the screen to like the video, put your questions or comments in the chat, and I will do my best to get to them. So we are living in times right now where we have to try to prepare. And preparation for me is going to look different for you. You know what preparation means for you. Get your ducks in a row. um, get ready. Tomorrow, Liberation Day. Tomorrow's D-Day. Liberation Day. We here. We are here. We are here. But I still do feel like underneath the previous administration that we were so down bad to where I truly believe that there's only one way we can go, and that's up. That's my opinion. I feel like there's only one way we can go, and it's up. It's only one way from here. We only up. We up from here. We are up from here. I just don't feel like we can get any lower than where we're at. Like, that's my opinion. I think we can only get better, and I'm keeping the faith. I feel like we're working towards better days, and I feel like, with Trump using this, the whole, okay, inflation as the means to get these other countries to move however he wants them to move. I feel like ultimately that will be a strategy that will work for us when it comes to bringing businesses here. In the meantime, there will be an increase or rise in products and goods here, but I don't feel like it's going to be in everything. I know we import a lot of things, but I feel like we'll just have to do our due diligence with researching those brands that we researching the brands. And if it's someone that a brand that does importing and there's a lot of and there's tariffs, then we need to just not do business with that that company, and just find another company that isn't impacted by the tariffs. Like, that's just what else we got to do. That's all we can do, right? That's all we can do. That's all we can do because it's here. He said it's here. It's here, y'all. Like tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. Let me try to get to these comments. Paul says kids are perfect the way God made you. Trans rights are effing weirdos' rights. Who says I'm a lefty liberal? I don't push it. Satoshi says, oh wow, I hear alphabet community is always upset in USA. Listen, somebody always on picket line for something here in the USA. Brolena says, Satoshi, today is a good day. If you think many angry people are coming in, normally it's 1,000 angry people. Right. Oh, today is definitely a good day. I can tell that. I don't ever know until I end the live how many people have come in, how many people came in, but I can get an idea like based off of the number of people like that it'll kind of show me that it'll max that it'll come in, and looks like it topped at around 50, maybe 60 people. Oh, that's a light day. It can get up to hundreds of people, 200, 300, 400. I think the most I've seen was like four something. I haven't hit five yet. But on those days, I know, when I end the live, it's the view is 20s, 30s, thousands of people who came. So today is definitely a light day. Definitely a light day. Probably low thousands. But I said for some reason Tuesdays are a light day for me. For some reason, I don't know what it's about, but I've been paying attention. Tuesdays are a light day for me, and I don't know if it has to do with YouTube and the algorithm. Like there's been moments where I feel like I'm shadow banned, and it's usually on a Tuesday. But Wednesday, it'll be back up. So those of you who are new to my channel, come back tomorrow. It is likely going to be a completely different experience, and it's going to be a lot more people. I don't know what it is about Tuesdays, but then on the rest of the days, it'll just go back to kind of normal. And it'll get crazy. So my poor mods be really having to work because the more people that come in, uh, the more trolls that come. And so my mods have to really work to manage that. And I appreciate them and all that they do, but it can get crazy in here. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Today's a good day, a light day. But if you're going to come back, listen, don't expect for it to be this way. Don't expect for it to be this way. So I will throw that out there. Don't expect for it to be this way. Today is a pretty light day. It's a decent day. Ben says, just came across, and I appreciate people who don't just think Trump is God or the devil and think black, white, etc. It's all about balance. And I can definitely see you're very sensible and fair. Thank you so much, Ben. Ben, that is me. I do that really with any type of content I put out here. I YouTube, like it's no different.